it's almost like my head would start to get filled with more and more vegan chat. And at the time, I was living by myself, and I wasn't really cooking much. And I remember there's a specific time I was eating rotisserie chicken like every night, and my friend was like, "You got to stop eating rotisserie chicken because it's like fucking disgusting." And I was like, it just hit me. I was like, rotisserie chicken's fucking disgusting, man. Like, I used to go into this Coles at like 5 p.m. and it was just like, it just dawned on me how bizarre my eating habits were. Like, I would go into this Coles at like 5 p.m. because I was like too lazy to clean my pan, and I'd buy this rotisserie chicken, and I would only eat the chicken breast. And it was real weird. I'd spend like $10 on this like chicken, and I would like take the breast of this chicken, and I would take the skin off the chicken and eat it, and then throw away the chicken. And then I was just talking about my mate, and I was like, it's so weird how I sit there and I go buy like this like dead chicken, take the skin off the chicken, eat like a tiny bit of it, and throw it away. And I just sat there and thought it was just so bizarre. And then like every time I'd walk in the supermarket, I'd be like, it just kept making me feel more and more. I just felt more and more weird about it. And then like I'd go into the supermarket one week, and then it'd be like the price of this rotisserie chicken's like dropped $3, and I'd be like, oh wow, the value of a chicken's life is only like $5 now. They've reduced it. So that was kind of like this. I know it's a real weird way to start into veganism, but that's kind of how I first got into it. And then slowly from there, I feel like the more and more I just traveled around and met different people, I felt like I had more of a moral obligation to make the changes in my diet. Like I feel like it was just like something that like was knocking on my shoulders that I just couldn't avoid no more. Like I felt like if I wasn't vegan, I was kind of almost living this like, I had like double standards, if that made sense.
Yeah.
Like I would talk to people about, I would try and tell myself that I'd be like a nice, kind, empathetic person, but then at the same time, like in the back of my mind, I'd be like, you're lying to yourself because your actions speak louder than your words.
Yeah.
So at the end, I just couldn't live with that. And then through a series of circumstances, it just weighed on my mind even more and even more and even more. And then I just decided, I was like, I'm just going to stop eating animal products. And then it just started from there, I guess.
So it's interesting. It came from like an ethical kind of stance, but not necessarily from seeing animal cruelty. It's just actually having time to think.
It wasn't really from seeing. The thing is, it sounds weird, but like the animal cruelty, like I find it disgusting to watch, but it wasn't strong enough to. I know I hear some vegans, they see it and then they're like automatically vegan, but it wasn't strong enough to make me vegan to start with.
Yeah.
I just don't know why. It just wasn't. But eventually I just felt like I was living a lie. Like I felt like I had an obligation. I had an obligation to myself that I wasn't fulfilling. Like I was meant to, like I felt like as a human being, I was meant to be someone who was empathetic and kind and would do unto others how I would want to be doing to myself. And I wasn't fulfilling that side of myself. And I felt like I couldn't really be my best self unless I was not eating animal products. So it seemed selfish in a way.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess that's the truth. I felt like I just couldn't be who I was meant to be unless I was eating vegan.
So just kind of aligning your actions with your kind of thoughts and your morals, I guess. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So obviously with your channel, you focus a lot on, I guess, something that was part of your life before veganism was, a lot of traveling, a lot of fitness, and obviously, eating in different cultures while you're traveling, things like that. Do you find that changing your diet has inhibited any of those kind of habits? Obviously, it causes some kind of change, but has it made anything more difficult for you?
Not really. I think once you make it a bit of a priority, when it becomes really a priority for you, there's no difficulty in it because it just becomes automatic. But I guess when you travel, I mean, it only becomes hard with like a language barrier and then not knowing what products are in food.
Yeah.
But beyond that, it really wasn't, because I found we'd still be doing the same exact stuff. The only difference was like I'd go onto, and these days we have access to the internet, so it's so easy. I just go onto the internet and type in vegan food Taiwan, and and it would come up. And I love traveling in Southeast Asia and Asia in general, and there's such a big vegan and vegetarianism scene over there that it's so easy for me.
Yeah, I think it's a misconception, really, isn't it? That it's difficult. It's definitely easier to not be vegan there, but it isn't too hard.
Yeah, I mean the global. Yeah. I mean, the majority of people don't eat vegan, so it's going to be easier not to eat vegan. But I mean, depending on where you go, the thing is, these days it's literally. I'm trying to think of a place in the world. It's definitely hard. Like I definitely was confronted by it. Like I went to when I was in Taiwan, I was definitely confronted by. I thought there was equal amounts of animal products, and there was equal amounts of veganism and vegetarianism. But even there it was easy, and then you go to America and it's easy, and then you go to Europe and it's easy. And I mean, these days with the internet, it's growing, it's becoming so much more popular. If there was 10 vegan places in a town, now you know about them, and they're not going to be hidden. You're able to find them, and people talk about them. So it's just way more easy.
And you don't feel like you miss out on any cultural foods by doing that? Because I think a lot of people do get worried that they're not going to be able to try the country's national dish or whatever.
Yeah, I mean that's something, but who cares? You know what I mean? Who cares?
Yeah.
Just because it's a national dish doesn't make it just because it's a national dish doesn't mean you have to give up your moral obligation to yourself and everything else just because it's the national dish.
Yeah.
That's something I struggled with because I'd go there and then it's not like I felt embarrassed, but I could see where I could find myself feeling embarrassed. I was one step before feeling embarrassed, and I was like, "Fuck, I'm about to feel embarrassed," and I was like, "I shouldn't feel embarrassed about this because fuck," do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd be eating this rice sausage or something, and it's meant to be stuffed with a pork sausage. This is a bad example because the dish ended up even being vegan and fucked up, right? But I did the best I could at the time.
Yeah.
Which I guess, for me, that's good. It was good. I was just trying to do the best I could. And someone told me, it's you shouldn't be filming that because you're butchering a national dish. But then I almost felt embarrassed, but I was like, who cares, man? Does it really matter?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can see where people would feel like they're missing out, but what are you really missing out on?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I really agree.
You're the person who gives that dish weight in your mind, so you're not really missing out on much. I mean, you've made the if being vegan is important to you, sticking to your diet is more important than 5 seconds of tasting a national dish.
Yeah, and there are so many amazing alternatives out there. Like you were saying, you can kind of get a vegan version of most of those things anyway. So it's you can. Yeah. And there's plenty of ways. I mean, food's one of those ways that you can experience. It's a quick way to experience culture, and it's a great way, and it's a really easy way too because we all eat. We all need to eat food to survive. So it's a quick way to learn about a culture and connect with other people. But there's plenty of foods that most cultures have that you can do that don't involve. Even the meatiest cultures eat foods with their meat that don't involve animal products. Yeah. So I just wanted to ask you. I had an article written today by one of my writers, and I thought I'd ask your opinion on it. Obviously, you can't see the article, but it was basically talking about whether us as a society have lost our compassion because of capitalism. Without kind of seeing the article yourself, I just wondered what your thoughts were first off on that. Do you think that those two things kind of come hand in hand, or?
I feel like as time goes on, the world's turning into more of it's weird. I feel like I see it definitely when I just walk outside. I feel like as we're growing as a species, I feel like we're becoming more and less compassionate. We care less. But I think that's due to several factors. And I'm just trying to think about it, hey.
Bit of a broad question, but
yeah. Well, it's definitely. I feel like society. When I just walk outside, I feel like we're not really taught compassion. Do you know what I mean? We're not really taught empathy. We're not really taught these qualities. I feel that an essential part of just being a human being and living on the planet.
Yeah.
And I feel like when I walk around outside, I get overwhelmed. Just walking on the street at 8:30 a.m. to just be an avid consumer, just to consume without any care.
Yeah.
At the kind of core of it, to be better than everybody else, and it's just like one big competition. It doesn't really matter who I step on or what I destroy to do it, as long as I serve my ego and feed my ego and I'm just better than everybody else, and whatever the cost, then it's all good. And I feel like, especially throughout my life, I felt like society really serves that and it really feeds that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's any way answering your question, but
no, I think so. It's kind of the way that the article was talking was kind of outlining a lot of those points and how I guess we do step on each other to get, to prove ourselves better than each other and compete against each other by the products that we're buying. And
I think there's just I just think in general there's a lack of people. People don't really have a connection. They don't really feel a connection, and society doesn't really promote a connection between you and other people, and especially you and other beings in general. Whether you want to call it an animal or when you want to call it a human being, I mean, they don't really promote a connection. So once you see the connection, it's hard to look beyond it. Do you know what I mean? As much as like you think a chicken's tasty, but I can't help but feel I'm connected to the chicken. It's not like something I have to believe in it. Like I can feel it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like as much as the chicken's tasty, I can't look beyond the connection, and it's definitely not taught. I mean, if you just walk around in general, there's just a huge disconnect, and people just don't see it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Do you think that because you're aware of that, would you consider yourself in some ways a minimalist as well? Because from watching your videos, I don't see that you.
I don't think I'm better than anyone.
No. A minimalist.
So what's your question? Do you think that if you think like that, you're better than someone?
No. Do you think that you are a minimalist? Like you don't.
Oh, minimalist.
Yeah, so you don't. I don't see you kind of like.
Yeah.
Consuming too much, but.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? I feel like, especially for me, like I definitely notice. I try and have a healthy relationship on it. Do you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, like we're not living in a world where we all run around naked and just eat fruit. And you know what I mean? It's just full basic and there's nothing. We have no material possessions. Like this is the world we live in right now, and this is the status of it. And it's about living it in the best you can, for me at least. You know, so I recognise that there's some things that I do and that I partake in that probably aren't I don't know. I partake in materialism sometimes, or I have things that kind of make me superficially happy every now and again. But I try and keep them to a minimum. Like, hence the word minimalism. But I think it's just being aware of that and aware of the relationships you have with stuff and how they make you feel, which is key. But some people are just slaves. They're just consumer slaves and they don't even see it.
Yeah.
Do you know?
I think
so it's a bit different when you're aware of the relationship you have with things and how it impacts your life. Otherwise, you just end up being, I don't know, 45 and just having a whole life crisis where your whole life dawns on you and you're just unhappy or something, you feel unsatisfied and you wonder why.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I kind of wanted to talk to you actually was because I noticed in a lot of your videos you seem really open-minded, you question a lot of things and you are really open to wanting to understand other people, and I guess whether that's part of your personal development or self-improvement, I'm guessing that's kind of why you are the way you are. But do you find that a lot of your decisions just generally in life are based on that personality trait that you have, that you are so open and question a lot of things?
I feel like the more it's weird. It's weird. It's like I feel like with me, the last thing I want to do is just like go through my own life with blinkers on. Like I feel like a lot of the time people have tried to oversimplify life to me, like oversimplify my life to me. Like, yeah, you're just a run-of-the-mill dude, and you're just meant, this is your position in life, you know, you got 10 options, and you're just meant to fill these 10 options, whether it be engineer, whether it be a lawyer, whether it be, you know, a labourer, and then you're just meant to go through life and you die, and that's it. And you go, and the most special thing they tell me is like you've got one life, and I just never really believed that. I always thought there was just more to it than what they're saying, and it's always served me well to look at it like that and to always question everything that someone's told me, because at the end of the day, it's like, why not question it?
Yeah.
And as my belief grows, I feel like it might sound weird, but I feel like it's just one big experience. I'm living just one big experience. And I want to understand and learn as much as I can. And I feel like it'd be arrogant of me to live my life and not live it like that, and not try and learn as much as I could and experience as much as I could. Because I'd almost be downplaying the opportunity that I've been given. Whether you like it or not, in my mind, I feel like being a human being, you've been granted a huge opportunity. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you really think about, when I think about my life in general, I think about, like, even at my worst, the times where I feel like the society gets me, where I feel like I'm not good enough and I'm not doing enough, and I need to jump back on the hamster wheel, and I'm just constantly dissatisfied. I just sit there and think to myself, like, wow, what a great opportunity it is just to be able to feel like this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, to walk around, I tell myself, like, I get these random moments where I feel like it's weird to think that, like, I look at other people and it's weird to think that they're living their own experience, because you've been at the center of your own experience this whole time.
Yeah.
So all these mind-boggling things to me is just when someone tries to oversimplify life to me, I just can't just go, what the fuck are you talking about to? Do you know?
Yeah.
So I guess that influences my choices, and I think it's all linked in together with regaining a sense of connection. Obviously, like, your view on the world directly correlates, and it affects your connection with other people and other beings, and which affects your diet and which affects your choices. I think it really comes down to a level of awareness. Like, depending on where your awareness is at, it's going to dictate where your choices are at.
Yeah. I think it's interesting to see someone like you who questions a lot of things and is a deep thinker about things, but still very positive at the same time. I think there's not very many people you can meet who do kind of have that balance between positivity and deep thinking, because it can, from my experience at least, like knowing other people who like that, it can really kind of get you down that not many other people are on that same level. Do you know what I mean?
I feel like it's a lonely. I feel like trying to think of, if it comes to a point where it becomes unproductive.
Yeah.
Like I said before, I mean, what you got to realize is, like, I feel like self-reflection and self-awareness is a tool, and it's a great tool, and it's a tool you got to use frequently. But sometimes you've just got to fucking live.
Yeah.
Like, there's no point to sitting in the corner and overanalyzing like every single decision you've ever made.
Yeah.
Because it just hinders you.
Yeah.
So it's a tool to be used, at certain times. I like to think about it like almost like, it sounds weird. I'm not trying to oversimplify it, but I try and think of it as like a big game. Like, in my life, I need to understand the game to best play it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I still need to go onto the chessboard and move the pieces around and still play.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I try and do it. And I try and allow myself time to reflect and time to breathe and time to think about everything I'm doing and my choices and my decisions and my actions and all this. But at the same time, I wouldn't mind going 4 months of just playing the game and not thinking too much about it, which is good, because I've definitely found with myself, I've had plenty of nights, even last night, where I just couldn't sleep because my mind was just I wouldn't stop thinking, and it becomes hard, and it can become a real chore. You can become a real slave to your own mind. So I think it's something. It's weird when you think about it, because if I started thinking, I started thinking about stuff on another level, and it became too overwhelming, and I shut it off because I didn't want to take part in it anymore, and it overwhelmed me to the point where I couldn't sleep no more, and I never learned how to tame my own mind in a certain way. Then I would never be able to access that tool. So it's a hard path to go down when you start thinking, but I think it's a valid path. I just think it's something you got to learn how to control. Use to your benefit.
Yeah. It sounds like you've made it so it's quite empowering instead of putting you down.
Controlling, because it can. I feel like I've experienced both ends of the coin. It's like you can become I feel like I'd start to become aware of situations, but then become like too aware. Like I'd be having a conversation with someone and I'd be like, okay, Abdullah, I can feel my heart rate going up, and then I'd start like just the conversations have with myself would become borderline just like debilitating. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people who have a mind, you know, like I feel like it's like almost a beautiful mind, like a mind that works on, I don't know, 2 times speed, experience that, and it's hard to control.
It's interesting being you.
Yeah. I don't know, but there's a lot of people out there. Like I used to think, like in my head, like I was crazy. Like I used to think legitimately I was crazy.
Yeah.
But I met lots of crazy fucking people, and I've had the best times of my life with crazy people. And I realised that we're not the crazy ones; we're the normal ones. The world is crazy. Like, and it can be overwhelming to sit back and look at the world and look at how everything's run and be like, and to see no beauty in the world when you really think about it. And then you can become a YouTube conspiracy watching 4 hours a day, sit at home, do nothing, just watch conspiracies, and just become like, you know, look at this world from like
a different angle,
like this positive but negative angle. Like you're always like, oh, like not really immersing yourself in reality. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you can't do that because that. Like I'd be hanging out with dudes and they'd be like, oh, you can't drink that tap water because that's going to do this, and you can't do it. And I couldn't even do anything with them, man, because they'd just be like, all you can do is sit inside your room and not live and watch conspiracy videos.
Yeah.
But I was like, nah, man, I want to live my life, but I just want to do the best I can.
Yeah, there's a balance between like speaking with people who have an open mind and then people who just, I don't know, small talk, and then there's I don't know. It's
yeah. The thing is, I think as time goes on, I begin to value silence more.
Yeah.
And I value my own work. I value conversation a lot, but the more I value it, the more I devalue having meaningless conversation. Now that doesn't mean like me and you. Every time we have to talk, we have to have some heart-to-heart, level 10 connected conversation. But I don't find myself having pointless conversations for the sake of it anymore. Like I don't find myself striking up relationships that before I would have striked up just because you're meant to strike up relationships with that.
Yeah.
With people like that, or just conversations that are just they don't need to take place.
Yeah.
So
I imagine just your very nature kind of brings in other people that are like-minded anyway, so you probably are surrounded.
Yeah, 100%. I find like it when people used to say like the energy you put out attracts people into your life that are on the same wavelength as you. I used to think it was just like some pseudoscience fucking like real, like, you know, it's funny, all the stuff like you come full circle, the stuff I used to think was like hippie, like spiritual hippie nonsense. I find myself like believing it to the fullest extent now, and it's just funny to look on it. And I used to think that whole term, like you attract what you put out, was bullshit. But even now, when I think about it on a practical level, like it just is. Like it just makes sense. Like I would meet people, like now I'd meet people and think in my head, I'd reverse engineer and think about how did I actually meet this person? Like this person's sick, and I'd be like, how did I actually meet them? And it was usually just through like a few conscious decisions I made, or a long list of choices I've made that put me in that spot. And it could be as simple as being like, oh, I want to meet someone who, I don't know, like I want to meet someone who's caring and values health and fitness and is empathetic or whatever, just anything, right? And then I value those things in my life, and I'm thinking in my head like, well, you know, I got to look like, I know it's a bizarre example, but I'm thinking, okay, well, I've got to, you know, fucking feed these kids at 7 a.m. That means I've got to go to the gym at 5 a.m. So my choice to feed the kids at 7 a.m. put me in the gym at 5 a.m. where I met that person. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just a series of choices that I made that led me into that situation where I met that other person.
Yeah. And then you can, once you understand that, you can kind of control it a bit more in the future.
Yeah. It's like 100%.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like all the people I met them for a reason. And it might not be a lot of people I still hang out with, but, you know, like how many people do I need to hang out with to have a fulfilling, content experience?
Yeah.
It's not really that many.
That's very true. So I have one more question, and I guess that kind of, it kind of relates to, well, whether, I guess, considering everything that we spoke about, whether you think that there's anything else that you currently do or anything else that you intend to do in the future that kind of relates to you showing compassion and living a life in the way that you were kind of saying, aligning with your morals. Is there anything actually you do aside from veganism which you would say is aligned with that, with the way that you feel and think about that?
I just think the thing is, veganism is like one of the biggest things that it's the easiest thing I can do.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the easiest thing I do. I'm directly in control of that.
Yeah.
Of what I eat, and we all need to eat to survive, and a large part of my life is spent eating food.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I do. But I don't know, like, I think even just the most basic, I try and check myself at the most basic level with compassion and all this kind of stuff. Like, and I think I start from just my basic intention. Like, it might sound weird, but I just make sure my intention. I just work for my intention, and that's just my start point.
Yeah.
And I try and get that right for everything. So if I want to be compassionate, and all this kind of stuff, I just make sure that's actually my intention. And anytime I go in a situation, I make a choice and I'm making a decision, I make sure I'm trying to make the best decision I can at that time, and it's rooted in a good intention. It's rooted from a positive place. And it might sound like it's just something like it's not. You should be, I don't know, marching at a veganism riot, which is cool and stuff. But I feel like we make so many choices every day, and and oftentimes our choices aren't even made. We don't even make them for ourselves. We give up our basic right for our choices to be made by other people. Now, we might, you make the choice, but really it's like this. We have so many influences, and we're so easy to give them up to other people in society and I don't know, mass social conditioning. So I feel like if you can reverse engineer that to a place where it's like every choice, it's coming from a pure source, like from you, and it's made with good intentions and compassion. I mean, that's really what it's all about.
It doesn't sound so hard when you put it that way either.
Yeah, I know. It's basic though. It's basic.
Yeah.
Like, I find myself doing it all the time. I'm like, I'll make a decision. I'll be like, am I being an egotistical fuck right now? Am I jealous? A lot of the times I found myself in situations where I would be, it's classic. Like, I'd be projecting myself onto other people. Like, I'd be like, he's being so jealous right now. He's being such a hater. Like, he's being such a dickhead. He just wants to take all my money. And then I'd sit back and I would just critically think about it for 1 second. I'd be like, fuck, I think I'm the jealous one. I think I'm the one who's hateful. I think I'm the one who just wants to take all the money. And I'm scared, and I'm just putting it all on him and using that as an excuse to make my shitty decision and just fuck this dude over. And it's confronting, and then you sit there thinking, what the fuck? But I mean, yeah.
It's quite brave to do that, because I think that, it's really, a lot of people avoid doing. I know for myself that I avoid doing that, and if I feel negatively about someone, even though deep down I know it's myself, to confront that is quite tough, and it makes you feel bad. But I guess that once you start doing it more, it's easier.
It's definitely the more you do it, I think better you get. I think the more you do it, the better you get at navigating through it and understanding when you're making a choice, when someone else is influencing you to make a choice, or when you're projecting yourself onto someone else, or you're creating this fake situation in your head just to I don't know, use an excuse to make a certain decision to improve your own position over somebody else's. But I feel like I kind of just lost my train of thought. But I feel, what were we talking about? We talk about
kind of like calling yourself upon, when you're being jealous or.
Yeah, I think the more you do it, the better you get at it.
Yeah.
And I think it's definitely. I always tell myself I had this. Always, I used to, like, it's, like, it would be like, I'd see, like, I always used to pride myself on taking the stairs and not taking the escalator. Like, physically, I would actually pride myself on doing it. I'd see stairs and I'd see the escalator. And I'd always say, like, if there's ever a choice in life that I'm ever going to take, I would go left, because I would always face this like escalator and staircase at the local supermarket, and the stairs would be on the left. So I'd always tell myself, I'd be like, I'll go fucking left. So then I just apply the same mindset in my mind. I'm thinking like, it's always the hardest option.
Yeah.
The hardest option to choose is the right one, eh? So it's hard to feel compassion. It's hard. It's hard to be kind. It's hard to wish others. It's hard to wish others do. It's always cool. Like I always just tell myself, like, it's cool to see others do well, but as soon as they do better than you, well, then they become. You don't want to talk to them anymore.
Yeah.
So I experienced that on YouTube, because I'd have friends on YouTube who would be below me, and I'd be like, oh, this guy's cool. And then as soon as they overtook me on YouTube, I'd be like, fuck, like. Suddenly I'd start like picking the nuances of his like content, and I'd be like, this guy sucks. So like it's hard for me to feel happy for them, but I know it's the right thing to do. And even at the start, even if I don't really believe it, I just keep telling myself until I do believe it.
So it's harder, but are the benefits more rewarding? Is it worth it?
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely it's definitely more rewarding. But I mean, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean when it comes down to. It just always comes back to intention. Like it always comes back to intention. Like I used to want to walk. I was in the same position. Like I used to want to walk up the staircase, and I found myself in this situation a lot of times. I used to want to walk up the staircase just so I could tell you that I walked up the staircase and not the escalator. And I was walking up the staircase in the sense that like I just want to be better than you, not be the best version of me. And then one day I realized that my pursuit of walking up the staircase all the time and taking the hard road was just like, it was just feeding my ego. Like, yeah, I'm better than you. I'm more compassionate than you, right? But then I just realized that I have an obligation to myself and an obligation to everyone, because I feel connected to everyone, that I just want to be the best version of myself. So that's why I always took the harder route. Not to be better than you, to be better than just to be the best me.
Yeah.
And then that translated to all my choices, like walking up the stairs and not eating fucking rotisserie chickens no more, and, all that kind of stuff. So...
Do you still walk up the stairs?
I still do, but now when I feel like when I don't really want to walk up the stairs, I take the escalator, because I'm not in some big war with everyone anymore, where I'm just trying to fucking be better than anyone, regardless of any cost. Because I mean, I personally found that drove me quite a lot. Like I found like I got pretty far. I found like I got my YouTube, I found like my YouTube grew really well when I was doing that. I found it really easy to go to the gym when I was doing that. I found it was just easy when I was doing everything just to be better than everyone. I felt like the world was at my back. Do you know what I mean? Like I'd walk into university, people pat me on the back and be like, "Well done," like "Welcome to the fight." Like there was a lot of support for that. But then as soon as you don't really start favoring that way of thinking and that way of acting, I feel like it's almost like, fuck, where did everyone go? Like I felt like with my YouTube, I was like, I thought that changing my intention, I feel like now I have more of an effect on people sometimes, but I felt like when I really checked my intentions at the door and said, do I really care about people, or do I just care about myself? When I changed that, I felt like a lot of people just left. Like, because it's confronting. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's confronting. And whether people know it or not at the time, whether they're consciously sitting there and they're getting confronted by it, it's still confronting. But I was confronted by the same truths a long time ago when people would tell me, like, how can you claim to be spiritual when you eat chicken? Do you know what I mean? Or how can you claim to be being the best you can when you go out and eat a steak? I mean, at the time I was like, you're a fuckboy, but I was getting deeply confronted by what he was saying. So...
Well, I guess that... So you just find that you drive yourself now just for self-improvement?
Yeah, and I feel like I drive my. I feel like I drive myself, and I feel like I get these brief moments of I get these brief moments of feeling a certain type of way, and I feel like I don't know whether I feel like everybody else has them, but I feel so amazing, and so I hate to use the word blessed because I feel like it's like one of those overused words. But I just feel so humbled by the opportunity, and so, like, I feel like, wow, this is fucking sick. Like, we get to sit here and drink coffee, and we get to just eat food and stuff, and I feel like this is amazing. I want other people to feel it too, because I feel like it's overlooked.
I think that's gratitude is maybe the word. maybe.
Yeah. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for. I just feel like this overwhelming sense of gratitude, and I feel like I don't know if everyone else feels it. And I'm just thinking in my head like I'd want other people to feel the same but I think that comes back down to the connection, Because I feel like I don't know. You just like I'm saying, like I don't want to feel when I see Tom walking down the street and Tom's being a dickhead. Like I don't want to feel connected to Tom. Like I don't really care about Tom that much, but something in the back of my mind is telling me that you are related to Tom somehow. I don't know if that's a human being thing. I don't know if that's a spirit thing. I don't know if that's a species thing. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But something in the back of my mind is telling me like when Tom has when Tom's overweight and I'm being like, yeah, Tom, you're just a fat asshole. I'm not really upset. I'm upset by the fact that he's hurting himself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I used to like when I was younger, I'd be like, oh, he's such a fat, lazy fuck, or like I'd see someone fat and be like, oh, I'm cringe, and be like, but now I look at it and I don't cringe. I just feel their pain. I feel like I just don't like seeing pain inflicted on other people because I feel like I'm a part of them. I feel like we're all like one, a part of something more collective.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right. I think that not many people do feel it. I think they do, but maybe not enough. And we've gone full circle. It's compassion, isn't it? So it's just yeah.
And I think as time goes on, I think we have a duty, and I have a duty just as much as you have a duty, as everyone else has a duty. It's just like like I when I talk to people about it, I like tell them, I say like I don't want to feel like this. Like it's not something I choose to feel all the time. Like it's just there. Like I accept it. Like I feel like it's an innate part of human nature to be like this. And once you let go of everything, there just comes a time where you have to let go. Because I feel like as you go on, I feel like the world tries to tell you things that just aren't true. And tries to instill like this like real radicalized, it might not seem radical at the time, but this radicalized, indoctrinated way of thinking into your mind that is so far disconnected from what you are, who you are as a human being, and people just accept it, and it's very hard to let go of. But once you let go of it, I mean, you open yourself up to feeling these kind of emotions, like I said, like when Tom's being a dickhead and you're like, fuck, I don't want to have to feel connected to you, Tom, but you do feel connected to Tom. You allow that to happen. So, and I think it's our duty to talk about it, and I think it's our duty to still operate like other people would operate, like how the world operates. So, like to make YouTube videos and to travel and to eat your vegan food, like any other person would eat their food, and it's just the baseline. Do you know what I mean? And approach it like not from sense that like I'm better than you, but like I want the best for you. You know, because I feel like there's some people out there, but this is like people would say like, oh, vegans are elite. I was like, vegans are. I'd be like, there's people in veganism who have an elitist attitude, but that's in any industry.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's in any industry. And okay, maybe in veganism it's bigger because I mean it's got ideas in it that we face all the time, like eating. Like you eat all the time, and eating's it's huge. I mean, people eat all the fucking time, and people strongly relate a large part of themselves in what they eat and how they eat. But I feel like veganism's like when people say that now, I think you get a bit twisted. I think apart from the elite people, I think vegans care about you the most.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? When I see someone, I used to see people vegan preaching before, and I'd be like, oh, he's just being a bit preachy. But now I see it, I feel like when I see it come from a pure place, I'm like, fuck, he actually cares about you a lot. You know what I mean? And they want the best for you, and they want the best for the planet.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the majority of the time, it's about wanting, like you were saying, wanting to do better for someone, not better than someone. So.
Yeah, but it's hard to see that when you're at a level where like you're making all your decisions to be better than someone else, because then when you see someone else doing that, you automatically default to your own state where you think, oh, they're just trying to be better than me. But that's really what you're doing. Do you see what I mean? Like you're trying to be better than them. So when they trying to help you, you see it as a direct attack, like they're trying to one up you, and you get into this pissing match contest where you're always just trying to be better than the next person who stands next to you, versus on the same, you just see them eye to eye and just be like, we're in this together, dude. I just want you to fucking be the best, eh?
Yeah. One last thing. If you were to give someone I guess, a tip on how to change their perception, someone who finds it extremely hard to and is kind of in that other way of thinking and not questioning things? I guess maybe it answered my own question, but what would you, what kind of tip would you give to someone who is maybe not as open-minded about things, if that makes sense?
I think a lot of it is just starting small. Now, I don't know if this is going to be much of a tip, but I feel like we do a lot of stuff that gets overlooked, and traveling taught me that a lot. Like, I felt like I was stuck on this hamster wheel for a long period of time, in terms of not being satisfied, and I felt like we're born into, once we go beyond 5 years old, we just get pushed into a state of suffering where like we're never good enough, and we're always like, we live pretty, like most of us, you know. Fortunate enough to live good lives where, like, at our worst times, I find myself sitting there at the desk feeling like I'm just not good enough. And I'm thinking in my head, like, why am I so fucking upset? I'm sitting at a computer desk right now, eating the sickest food, and I still feel like I'm not good enough, So I recognized that, like, I felt like my life was just covered by suffering. And then initially I ran away and I started traveling. I started traveling to kind of cover it up and get away from it all. But when I was traveling, I realized I felt like I was thrust into these situations that suddenly I started to appreciate. Like, I started to find it so cool. I started to find it so cool, the fact that I'd be like, I don't know, like drinking coffee in a cafe in Hong Kong. I thought that was the coolest thing, and it was the most simple thing, and it was so and I found so much gratitude in it, and I found it so rewarding, and I just couldn't even wrap my head around how cool it was to sit there and drink coffee. And then I realized the same things I was doing at traveling, and the same things that I was doing all those times where I was just overwhelmed by gratitude and thought it was amazing. I was doing that every day when I was back home. Just I was never looking at it like that. Like, I never actually opened my eyes and took a step back and actually saw what I was actually doing. It was actually like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. So then I came back and I realized, like, everything that I thought my city didn't have, everything that I thought my life didn't have, it had. My eyes weren't open the whole time, because my eyes were like, I was on the hamster wheel and doing what everyone else was doing. My eyes were always 100 steps in front of where I was, so I was never able to see where I actually was.
Never living in the moment.
I was never actually able to live and be and just enjoy the beauty of the present moment of time. So that's why I always tell people, I think traveling's a great way just to experience and learn. And you probably experienced it too. Traveling's it's just such a great tool and a great experience that any human being can partake in. Because you learn so much about whether you're with friends, whether you're by yourself, whether you go to a third world country, whether you go to, I don't know, America, wherever you go, you always come out better than when you left off, whenever you started.
Yeah.
And it gives you the ability to connect with other people, and it gives you the ability to appreciate and ultimately gain more perspective. And I think the perspective thing is like, it's invaluable. No one can teach you perspective. You have to go out and you have to gain your own perspective. And you can't get taught it in school, and it can only be taught through your own experience and actions. Is something that you come to terms with yourself, and traveling does that for you. And then you find the more you travel, the more you gain perspective, and the more your own life improves, because your perspective changes and your perception changes. And when your perspective changes, it changes your perception on certain situations. Ultimately, your situation that you thought was once bad, now from what you've seen, you can tell yourself that it's not bad, and you find yourself just more grateful.
It's a great answer.